Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Collateral Damage. This is Mike Wilson. I'm here with my co-host, Maureen Cavanaugh. How you doing, Maureen?
Hello, Michael.
No guest today. No guest today.
No.
No, with the holidays here, we just had Thanksgiving a little while ago. Now we got Christmas. It is New Year's. It is a tough time. Tough
It
time for
really
everybody.
is.
It's a
I
nice
mean,
time, but also a tough time.
for some people, it's not a nice time at all. I mean, and I remember and I'm sure you remember years too, where I just dreaded them coming like
Yeah.
like a freight train. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
was glued to the tracks,
Yeah.
and I could see them coming at me, and I knew it was going to be bad.
Mhm.
And how many times I was so worried about my daughter that I just ruined the holidays for everybody around me too.
Yeah. Well, I know on this end, being the individual struggling with addiction, it was never. I mean, for me, the holiday was just an opportunity to get around my resources and see if I could get anything out of them.
Yeah.
To show up, and it was like a Christmas present, or it was like, Thanksgiving was the one time when my family would let me come to the house, and I'd show up and make a little mess, eat some food, and try to get something out of somebody.
Right.
Or it was a chance for me to show up and try to pretend that I wasn't going through what I was going through. It was
Yeah.
really kind of pretend for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
If I showed
Oh,
up, it
absolutely.
was,
Yeah. If your person is there, you keep looking at them and thinking, well, they don't look that bad. Maybe they're going to be
yeah.
okay. Right. And
Yeah.
everybody's staring at you, trying to see if your pupils are pinned or not, or
Oh, yeah.
dilated, or
Yeah.
whatever it is at the moment.
Assessing every behavior, every
Yes.
movement, looking at you. Are you okay? Pulling you aside. So what's going on? And it was
Oh,
just,
was that
it was,
helpful at all?
no, the opposite.
There
It
you
was
go.
the opposite of that. It was not
Yeah.
helpful. As a matter of fact, it just made me feel like more of an abnormality. And, I guess the holidays were tough, active, and they were even tough for me when I got sober,
Yes.
because my family didn't know how to act around me when I was using, and they also didn't know how to act around me while I was sober. So when
Right. This is like not something that like magically, okay, now you're okay, and everybody can go
no,
back to, it's like musical chairs. Everybody can go back to what they were doing before.
yeah. Well, my first Thanksgiving in sobriety was weird. I've talked about it before here on this show, and my first Thanksgiving with my family in sobriety. I think my family likes to drink. I got a couple of family members that like to smoke pot, which is fine for them. It's not an issue for them. But I showed up, and for some reason, they all had collectively decided in the background that nobody was going to drink and nobody was going to smoke pot. And, I mean, that was really nice of them. In hindsight, I'm like, oh, I appreciate the sacrifice that they made. But as the individual who showed up into this really weird and abnormal situation, I was like,
Yeah.
how come nobody's drinking? Like, oh, because of you. And I'm like, ugh. I was like, that's gross.
Yeah.
So because of me, nobody gets to enjoy their Thanksgiving. I'm like, this sounds just like all the other Thanksgivings. I said, why don't you guys just do what you normally do? And, for me, that's what I wanted. I just wanted them to behave
So
normally.
what would you want somebody to, what would have been the right way to go about that? Because
To ask me.
to ask you. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
to
yeah.
put it in my hands. Ask me if I'm okay with it.
So,
You know what
because
I
you're
mean?
actually still a person, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like
Yes.
but more importantly, like, I all I wanted to do in sobriety was fit back in. I didn't want my whole family system to change because I was sober. I wanted to just be normal, and the only way to do that is for people to be normal around me, instead of making me feel like the abnormality. Even more
Right.
so, like when I was active, I was the abnormality. Now in sobriety, I just wanted to be normal
Right.
and fit
Yeah.
back in. And the
But I
best
think
way to
that's
do that was to approach me and ask me.
right. And I don't think we think to do that.
No.
We think we have to make the decision for you and around you. And
Well,
then,
because up until that point, you kind of did.
right.
I mean, when you're active, yes, your thinker is broken, and so your family thinks for you, and they make
Right.
decisions for you. Well, you're not welcome here for Thanksgiving. Why? Well, because every other Thanksgiving you've robbed people. Like there's a reason
That's not
behind it.
very, that wasn't very Thanksgiving of
Yeah.
you.
So it's at a certain point, your ability to
Uh,
make good decisions is broken, and
yeah.
so the family gets used to making those decisions for you, and my family just did it.
Yeah. So I mean, I've run through that too with my daughter, and I felt in the beginning, I think that, we should just act like we always act.
Right.
And then it was difficult for her to be with us, and, people would be having a glass of wine. I mean, we're not many big drinkers, or anything, but have a glass of wine when she wishes she could have a glass of wine, and then that was a problem.
Right.
So, but as time has gone on, it's not been so difficult, but never did it occur to me to ask her, I think in the beginning, would that be okay with you?
Yeah.
Kind of made the decision without her. I've decided that if I can't not drink when she's around, not even just a glass of wine, but if I can't not do that,
Yeah.
there's something wrong with me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, well, it's when she comes over, I just don't do that.
Mhm.
And, I mean, I guess if it was like I don't know, New Year's Eve, I might have a glass. I don't know, maybe not. I just really feel like if there's one day, her and I are very close though, because
Mhm.
I would like bonded a little bit too much
Mhm.
probably. So I feel like, if I can do that one day, and I told her, I had the conversation with her. It's like it's about me. It's not about you. I just feel like if I can't do that, you have to do it every day. If
Right.
I can't do it one day, then that's a problem. But
Right.
I wouldn't ask anybody else, and we've talked about it since. I
Mhm.
wouldn't ask anybody else not to drink, and she's okay with that.
Right. Well, and I mean, it's, we have a culture where drinking is just supposed to be like this thing. It's normal, like
Right.
drinking for sports or drinking at a family event. Like, I don't know, it's fine if that's what you want to do. And, being in recovery is really about learning how to live in a world where other people can do things you can't.
Mhm.
That's my understanding, is that I tried to use drugs and alcohol and I couldn't do it, and I
Right.
couldn't do it safely. And so therefore it's not that the world has to change around me and that I have to, try to find a way to hide from the fact that other people can. It's that I have to get comfortable with the fact that they can and I can't. And that's hard in the beginning, especially when you want to be able to
Yeah.
do it and then you watch people do it normally and you start to reminisce and you're like, oh, maybe I can do it again. And
Mhm.
that's what families fear, is the fact that, like, if I drink around them I might set them off, or I might, make them feel bad, or I might, make them relapse. I get all that fear, but that's probably not going to be you that causes that. But I don't think this is about whether or not people should drink in front of their loved ones. I think it's more importantly, like, why the holidays are so tough. If you're a family member and you're setting boundaries around your loved one. So for instance, working with a family, and Thanksgiving just passed recently, and the big question on the table was, my loved one is still active, should I invite him for Thanksgiving? And it's a hard answer. The answer that I would normally give is, if they're not welcome at your house any of the other days of the week, why would Thanksgiving be any different?
Right.
Why would Christmas be any different? And it's the sentimentality of the holiday. It's like, it's just, I want them there. Even I want to pretend that they're not struggling with this, and I
That's
want them there.
exactly what it is. Yeah,
That's
I
it.
wanna pretend.
And so my answer is always, if you feel like you have to, that's fine, but prepare yourselves accordingly. Don't pretend that because it's Thanksgiving or Christmas that they're going to show up not struggling with active addiction. They're still
Yeah.
going to show up the same way. You should still lock your coats and pocketbooks in whatever room you can. You should still prepare to have some uncomfortable conversations, or that your loved one's probably going to show up under the influence, especially if it's opiates. They're not going to not use that day to show up with families. Matter of fact, might even use a little extra, just to make sure that they're not sick in front of you.
Right.
And
Yeah,
that's
I mean, as long as you know that. And I think, then you know that, and you want your family member to be there, and then as long as you're going in
Yeah,
fully prepared, I think that
and do it.
everybody's gotta do what they have to do.
Exactly, exactly.
But
And that's the hard part, is just accepting that you're going to have an active addict in your home, and that Thanksgiving or Christmas is not the time to argue with them or fight with them or challenge them. That if you're going to bring them in, you need to do it eyes wide open. You're going to be faking it. They're going to be
mhm,
faking it. And that you don't want to turn Christmas or Thanksgiving into a big battle about going to treatment. Can you do that? That's the question I always have to
right,
ask. So now that you know that, can you do that?
right.
Can you have them over and not bring it up? Can you have them over and not turn this into that?
And
Yeah.
that's really hard. That's
I
really
wouldn't want
hard.
to do it. I wouldn't want to do it.
No,
You
no,
know,
but, some people will and do,
yeah,
and
it's fine.
that's good too. Whatever you need, but make sure you have Narcan in the house,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know
I remember this mom I worked with probably 9 years ago, and she had made the decision that her son was not allowed at her house anymore very similar to what we were just talking about. And she got to, I don't know, maybe a couple months in, and he was staying at a friend's house and so on and so forth. And Thanksgiving came around, and she's like, I want him to come over for Thanksgiving. And she's like, what do you think? And I said, well, my opinion is that, neither one of you has done a lot of work since he hasn't been at your house. He's still active and you're still struggling to deal with that. I would say the most likely scenario is that he's going to come over and things are going to be very familiar in an unhealthy way. And I said, but if that's what you need to do, then do it, and she's a mom. She's like, I just want to put eyes on him. I want to eat with him. I want to talk to him. And I'm like, well, you probably won't have a great conversation because he's still holding some resentments and thinks you ruined his life. And you still think he's a drug addict that needs treatment. And you guys haven't been able to agree on that up to this point. She said, all right, but I'm going to try it anyway. And so she did exactly that. She had him over for Thanksgiving, and she called me the next day extremely angry, frustrated. She's like, it was exactly like it was before. He hasn't changed. Nothing's changed. And she's very frustrated. And I said, if nothing else, this has helped to reinforce your boundaries, remind you why they were put in place in the first place. And occasionally you need to test them, right?
Right.
I just worked with a family that talked to me about this yesterday. They said that for Thanksgiving, they didn't have him over, but they had him over on Sunday instead, this most recent Sunday. And they brought him over just to eat and talk and hang out, not Thanksgiving or Christmas when family would be there, but just to talk and hang out. And
Yeah.
they ended up walking away frustrated. They tried to convince him to go to treatment. He refused. Mom and the child ended up fighting and arguing, and it just turned into what it always turned into.
Yeah. How about, like, I don't know, Christmas morning, you
Mm,
go grab breakfast, go to Dunk's, grab a cup of coffee,
yeah.
give him a hug, tell him you love him, but
Mhm.
and say, I wish you could be here, and I hope that next year you will.
Right. And that's the thing. The holidays are to see them and spend time with them, but you don't have to sacrifice everybody's Christmas or Thanksgiving or put the family in that situation.
Right.
If you want to see them for Thanksgiving, make them a plate. Go visit them or go,
Or afterwards, right? Even
yeah, coffee,
afterwards would be
lunch,
fine.
something like
It
that.
doesn't have to be the whole shebang because things are not normal.
Right. Right. It's
But
tough. It's tough. I mean,
yeah,
there's siblings to take into consideration. There's children, that might want to see their mom or their dad, who might be
yep.
that person. Husbands and wives have to take the same stance the parents and family members do. So, it is definitely tough. And I know that around the holidays, people make a lot of compromises
But,
in
I
their
think
process.
we have to remember it's 24 hours. So it doesn't all have to happen at the same time. There's no magical thing that happens when everybody's old. Sometimes what you have to do is get the kids in the car and go see them somewhere else.
Right.
And this way it doesn't turn into a disaster
Hmm.
for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. I think what's not okay, in my opinion, is not having any contact at all, refusing to speak to somebody,
Right.
not being, not being able to tell them that you love them. This is not, there's no, I think too often people think, well, we'll show them. We won't have
Yeah.
them here and we won't call them and we
Yeah.
won't answer the phone and and that's how we'll make them go to treatment. And that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. No, and
That's
it
almost
doesn't help.
always no, it doesn't help at all, and
No.
it sometimes really hurts, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It makes it, and it also, if God forbid anything bad happens, that's what your last interaction was. You don't wanna
Hmm.
do that either. There's
No.
some happy medium in there.
Well, you can emotionally support somebody without enabling them. You can
Absolutely.
take their call, you can listen. I remember I used to call my mom, and I was raised to believe that if I called my mom with a problem, she would absorb it and we would deal with it together. That's how I was raised originally,
Yep.
and I think that that's pretty traditional.
Yeah,
Most people
it's
have
very
that.
familiar.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
sure it sounds familiar to most of our listeners. And
Give it
you
to
know,
me, I'll take it.
yeah, I call and be like, "Mom, I owe all this money." She's like, "Well, this is how much I have in my account." And I'm like, "All right, well, we're getting closer, we're almost there." And there was a time when
Oh,
that started to change, and it was uncomfortable. That change was uncomfortable to begin with because those calls were met with just emotional support instead of all the other supports, enabling supports that I had become really familiar with on the
right.
receiving end. Is that I called and it was like I would complain, and the response I got was, "Well, I'm really sorry that you're going through that. I can't wait to hear how you figure that out. I love
Mhm.
you. Have a great night." And I was like, "What? I'm sorry. What?" That's that is not what I called for. And
Yep.
so, my my understanding of love was that, you helped. But as an active addict, helping was actually helping me stay sick. And so when my family changed that, obviously I didn't receive it well, but they were still providing love, support. They were still taking my calls. My mother was like, can I come over? She's like, no, but I'll come meet you for lunch.
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. And so we'd go meet, and, we'd talk, but
She
lunch,
got to feed you,
yeah, she got to feed me, put
right?
eyes on me, but it also gave her the ability to walk away afterward,
Right.
and so she didn't have to ask me to leave. There was no request to stay at the house. She didn't worry about me rifling through things. Like these are just small things, but they're huge in the change in that relationship. And this goes into the holidays too. That you can still be there for your loved one. You can still take their call. You can still wish them a Merry Christmas, or Happy Hanukkah, whatever
Or
it might be.
whatever. Yeah. Happy
Yeah,
New
happy
Year.
holiday. You can still offer that level of emotional support and feedback and love. It's just not doesn't have a resale value. It doesn't come with the fear of bringing them into the home with other children or family there. And I think it's sad. It's definitely hard. It's hard that they can't be there the way you
It's
want
going to
them to
be
be.
sad anyhow, you know?
It is, yeah,
Yeah. It's just sad in general. The whole situation is sad every day. It's
yeah.
sad.
Well,
But,
I mean, there's no one way to do it.
right.
I give my recommendations. You give your recommendations. They're never to cut somebody off. So I think I've been referred to as the tough love guy, and I've spent a lot of time trying to help people understand that it's not tough love.
Oh, I
Tough.
wouldn't ever call you that. No.
So, I mean, that's the
Yeah.
phrase that goes around, is that I'm the tough love guy, but it's not. Tough love is bad. Tough love is a parenting tool that you use on small children, or young children, to try to teach a lesson. There's a teachable moment in tough love, which is that, you didn't want to eat your dinner, so you're going to bed hungry tonight. This is hard
Right.
for me too as your parent. This is tough love. I'm going to make you go to bed hungry because I know you'll learn a lesson, and tomorrow you'll eat your dinner. That It's a bad example, but that's an
Yeah.
example of tough love. That requires that the individual on the receiving end is capable of learning a lesson through consequence of action. Addicts and alcoholics do not
Right.
have the
Doesn't work
capacity
like that.
to learn through consequence of action. So using a tough love technique like, oh, we're not going to talk to you for a month and you'll learn your lesson. No, you just didn't
No.
talk to him for a month.
That's manipulation. You can't manipulate somebody
Yeah.
into not, you know, having the effects of their disease. That
Right.
doesn't work like that.
Right. So boundaries, healthy boundaries is the opposite of that. Healthy boundaries is not about me teaching you a lesson and changing you. It's about me protecting myself, because I don't want to play the role in the things the way that I have in the past, or I don't want to keep you sick, or I don't want to give you money you're going to buy drugs with. I don't want to buy you a $400 North Face jacket for Christmas because I know it's cold out, where I know you're just going to go sell that to somebody else and be cold but on heroin.
Right.
And so, like, I have to make that decision. I'm not punishing you by not buying you a jacket. I'm protecting myself, and I'm protecting you.
Speaking of presents, I think that years ago, I thought the answer to presents was gift cards.
Gift cards have such a high resale value.
I know. And I don't think that there's still a lot of people out there that don't know that. I mean,
Right, they
you
think
think
just
that,
cash, just cash.
yeah, well, or, gift card to Stop and Shop so they can buy food, or
Oh,
it's like, this is just
I used to love Christmas as a drug dealer, because all my customers would come to me with all those gift cards from family members, and man, I would go shopping for days,
so
and
important
all
for people to
discounted rates.
understand. Yeah.
$50 for a $100 gift card, no
Right.
questions asked.
Right.
$75 for a $100
Right.
gift card, doesn't matter.
And again, it's hard not to give your child, or your loved one a present for Christmas or Hanukkah or
Mhm.
whatever holiday it is that you celebrate. It's hard because we're so commercialized that
Right.
that it's all about, again, it's all about the presents, right?
It is,
But
yeah. Well, that's how
um,
people translate love, right? They
right,
get giving, they give, and so there's so many different love languages out there. There's so many different ways to give love, that don't feed addiction, that don't enable addiction. But you got to learn them.
IOU, give them an IOU. You'll make it up to them.
Yeah, yeah. As a drug
Yeah.
dealer, I would not take IOUs, so I get
No, so
that.
that would work.
Or cards, or hugs, or time. You know what I
Time.
mean? Time is
Yeah.
something that you can just sit with somebody and listen to them complain. You can sit in the same room with them. You can give them a hug. If you can tolerate them. There's a lot of different ways to be with people during the holidays, or to show people that you love them and that you still care about them, without compromising your boundaries,
Right.
without enabling them, without supporting the addiction. There's tons of ways to do it. You just got to ask for help, you
Right. And
know?
I think that this is a situation where it you have to maybe step back and it not be about how you feel and what you want, and it
Right.
may be what, you know, what you can live with,
Yeah, that's a good point.
you
Yeah.
know?
It's not just Christmas and Thanksgiving, it's birthdays, it's New Year's, it's Sunday dinners, it's,
Yep,
family night, it's anything like that. Any of those situations where, under normal circumstances, we could all sit around and be happy. We miss our loved ones and we would want them to be part of that. And it's sad when they're not,
right. And
you
then we
know.
have so many people that are missing, permanently missing people,
Hmm.
including our kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, I don't even know, maybe what, World War II? Did
Mm.
we have so many young people missing so many of their friends and brothers and sisters, and I
Hmm.
don't, I mean, the effect of this grief upon this generation
That's
and
devastating.
the children that are missing parents. I mean, this is a tough time. It really is. So, I
It's a
mean,
time of war. It
yeah,
almost seems like, I mean, if we're comparing it to another world war when people were losing their parents and their children, I mean, this is a time of war.
yep.
Yeah, I
So, I
mean,
mean,
there's
go
no
ahead.
easy way to do it,
Mm-mm.
but it's got to be done. We're all going to find a way to get through the holidays. My only advice to people is just not to invite active addiction into your home and into your family if you can avoid it.
Yeah. And
Don't.
connect with each other too. There's lots of people going through this. And
Right.
there's lots of people, if you've gone through this and you've come out the other side like I have and very lucky, or
Hmm.
like you have,
Hmm.
or unfortunately some people don't do that. Giving back is a wonderful way to
Right.
to at least have a little bit of joy around the holidays, is giving to somebody or helping somebody that's less fortunate, or maybe may not have the family support that you wish you could give your own family member.
Right. No, I
So,
agree. I
yeah,
Well, if any of our listeners out there are looking for help, I know that both you and I are available, and
absolutely.
they can reach out. I'll give my 800 number now for anyone's listening: 800-270-2302. I'm happy to take your call. During the holidays, I know it's nice just to be able to have somebody on the other end of the phone to talk to or ask a question to. Maureen,
Yeah.
if you want to give out your number.
Yeah, it's 617-291-3266. And
So,
I'm more than happy to talk to anybody that's having a hard time. And because I've been there,
mhm.
we've both been there.
Yeah, on
And
different ends.
hopefully, it's a new year and hopefully things get better, because it's possible. It happens. I see it all the time.
2020 is the year.
2020. Okay. I don't know. What is it the year for?
Yeah, I don't know. It's
My
just
life
another
is,
year.
yeah, my life is all good.
Yeah, it's just another year.
Haven't you learned that, I will say that, haven't you learned that problems are not problems unless they're really problems now?
That's true.
I
That is
know
true.
what I've gone through enough to know when something's really a problem, and when
Mhm.
really, I mean, the wheels could fall off the car and then there could be
Yeah.
a hole in the roof, and I'm like, that's not so bad. Everybody's good.
Yeah,
So,
relatively speaking, they don't all
yeah,
they don't all need to be problems, but, whether it's reaching out by phone, on Facebook, I know the Magnolia group on Facebook is very large and,
and we
comes
have
with.
recovery groups too. So we
Yeah.
have Magnolia, we do recover for people that are feeling lonely or
Mhm.
feeling stressed out about that, about the holidays or any other time. And also Wicked Sober, are
Okay.
the two groups that I run, and then all the Magnolia addiction support groups
Okay.
throughout the country. We have over 25,000 members,
Wow.
and I can guarantee you that day or night there'll be people. I see them already starting to post about Christmas coming up, and
Yep.
thinking they'd be in a different spot and being in the
Mhm.
same spot or worse. So there's
Yeah.
lots of people there that are more than willing to listen and be there.
Well, there is just one more little thing I want to put out there about this is that, I've heard the opposite of addiction is connection.
Hmm.
And, I think that gets confusing a little bit for some people, and they feel like the only way to connect is to bring people back into the house. And, I feel like it might be counterproductive to some extent. You can connect with people and you don't have to risk everything. If you want
Absolutely.
to connect with your loved ones this holiday, please do it. Call them, take their call, tell them that you love them, tell them that you miss them. Like you said, tell them that you hope they can be there next year. Give them a way out. Tell them that they're loved and that there's help available. That's love. That's connection. The
Yeah.
disconnection is when you isolate them, judge them, persecute them, stigmatize them, isolate them from the family. Those are not beneficial. It's okay to reach out. It's okay to take the call. It's okay to be there, but you just have to be careful about what it is that you're providing and the message that you're giving.
Yes.
And so stay connected,
Right.
take their call, reach out, tell them you love them, tell them that help is available. That's your Christmas present.
And this is
you know,
all tough stuff.
right?
No matter what you do, it's all
It is.
hard.
It is. But
Well, hopefully, I wish everybody a happy holiday, happy new year.
absolutely,
And
same here.
yeah,
And if you need help, reach out, comment on this post. Reach out to Maureen or myself, and I hope you and your family are able to enjoy the holiday regardless of what you're going through.
there you go.
All right, bye everybody.
All right.